Days into a frantic search, one voice cut through the silence. Daniel beat them. The words didn't come from an investigator or a neighbor. They came from the children's step-grandfather. A voice that should have been unifying the family, now tearing it apart. At the center of this heartbreaking mystery is Daniel Martell, the children's stepfather, and the last known adult to see Lilly and Jack Sullivan alive. So, who is Daniel? A devastated man caught in the nightmare of a child's disappearance, or someone hiding behind a carefully rehearsed version of events? What makes a grandfather turn on his own family? Grief, guilt, or something darker? This case isn't just about two missing children. It's about secrets shifting Timelines line investigators who won't let it go into a quiet house in rural Nova Scotia where nothing bad ever happens until it does. Because sometimes the loudest screams are the ones never heard. This is the case of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, and it all begins with a whisper that shattered everything. It was supposed to be just another Thursday. Their mother says she stayed home because Lilly had a cough. Their stepfather says the kids were awake early, moving around the kitchen. But sometime between sunrise and mid-morning they disappeared. No screams, no broken windows, no signs of struggle. Within hours, a full-scale search launched across the surrounding forest. Drones, dogs, dive teams, even locals combing the woods for days. And yet no bodies, no footprints, no evidence of where they went. The RCMP Major Crime Unit quickly took over. 54 interviews, phone seizures, tips from across the country. As of June 2025, a reward of $150,000 Canadian dollars is on the table for any information. Still no arrests, no charges, just grief, just silence. Because this story isn't just about two missing children. It's about a family already splintered, and a community now cracked in half by suspicion, blame, and something far deeper than anyone expected. And it's about a truth that refuses to come to the surface. At the heart of this story are two children. Lilly Sullivan, just 6 years old, a lover of pink sweaters, picture books, and her little brother, and Jack, only 4, tiny dinosaur boots on his feet, a quiet, curious spirit who followed Lilly wherever she went. On the morning of May 2nd, they were seen leaving their bedroom, headed toward the kitchen. That was the last time anyone says they saw them alive. Their mother, Malahia Brooks Murray, made the 911 call shortly after 10 o'clock a.m. She told police she'd woken up and couldn't find her children. What followed was a mother's worst nightmare, one that, over time, would twist into something darker. In the days after the disappearance, Malahia began distancing herself from her partner. She changed her relationship status online. She blocked Daniel Martell, the children's stepfather, on all social media. Daniel was the last adult known to be with Lilly and Jack. He told police the children must have wandered off through the sliding door. He cooperated fully with the investigation. He passed a polygraph. He even volunteered for a drug test. But then came the fracture. Malahia's own father, the children's step-grandfather, stepped forward in a video interview, and he didn't mince words. Daniel beat them. That accusation detonated the trust that was holding the family together. Suddenly, Daniel wasn't just the last person to see the kids. He was the prime suspect in the court of public opinion, and behind it all was the setting. Gairloch Road, remote, wooded, silent, a place where cell signals vanish, and cries, if there were any, might echo into nothing. The days leading up to the children's disappearance paint a picture of ordinary life until the details start to unravel. April 30th to May 1 Street, Lilly and Jack missed school. On May 1st, school was closed for a professional development day. Still, some wondered, why the absence the day before? Later that same day, May 1st, the children were reportedly seen in New Glasgow, captured on surveillance footage with family. Police later confirmed this detail but didn't specify where or when exactly. Then came May 2nd. According to Malahia and Daniel, the morning began quietly. They were in their bedroom with their newborn. Lilly and Jack were awake, in the kitchen just down the hallway. No shouting, no panic, just morning sounds. Then, nothing. Daniel claimed the sliding door, which didn't make much noise, was likely opened by the children. There was no alarm triggered. By 10 o'clock a.m., Malahia called 911. The RCMP arrived quickly. The woods were thick, the home remote. And in those first crucial hours, the fear was that Lilly and Jack had wandered too far. But no footprints, no clothing, no sound. By May 4th, over 160 trained searchers were combing the area. Drones, dogs, divers, and yet nothing. By May 7th, the large-scale effort was scaled back. Still, hope refused to die. Volunteers returned on May 18th. Community efforts carried on, but not a single trace of the children was found. As of June, police had conducted 50 interviews, seized phones and electronics, analyzed digital footprints, and fielded hundreds of public tips. And in a desperate move, they issued a $150,000 reward for any information. But even with all of that, the case remains unsolved. Just when the public began to lose hope, a voice rose from inside the family. In an unscripted, emotionally charged video, Malahia's father, the children's step-grandfather, made a chilling declaration. Daniel beat them. 3 words, 1 accusation, and with that, the case shifted. No longer just a tragic disappearance, no longer just a mystery. Now it was personal. Suddenly, the search for Lilly and Jack became entangled with the search for the truth about Daniel Martell. Media headlines exploded. Comment threads erupted. Could the man who claimed to love them be the reason they were gone? Daniel denied everything. He took a polygraph test and passed. He volunteered for a drug screening, handed over his phone, spoke publicly with police standing behind him. His story never changed. They must have wandered off, but for many, the step-grandfather's words had already planted a seed of doubt that no test result could undo. And in the growing silence of that remote Nova Scotia home, one question began to haunt everyone watching. What if this wasn't just a disappearance? What if it was a cover-up? As police combed the woods, the internet was dissecting something else. Reddit threads exploded, analyzing timelines down to the minute. TikTok creators began building theories, step by step highlighting the silence of the sliding door, the family's social media posts, and a timeline that felt just a little too loose. Facebook groups split into factions. One side convinced Daniel was being unfairly crucified by public opinion. The other, certain he was hiding something, calling the entire story a carefully constructed lie. Even body language experts joined the digital courtroom. The YouTube channel The Behavior Panel released a full analysis of Daniel's police interviews, breaking down his eye movement, tone, posture, and pauses. Some argued his calmness signaled control, even guilt. Others said he was simply a man frozen in grief. Meanwhile, hashtags flooded comment sections. Justice for Lilly Finn the truth. To many online, this wasn't just a case. It was a battle for answers in a world where facts were few and speculation ran deep. And as theories multiplied, so did one uncomfortable truth. In the silence of the forest, the loudest voices came from screens. From the very beginning, Daniel Martell did what most suspects don't. He invited scrutiny. He requested a polygraph. He told examiners, "Ask me if I killed them." The results, he passed. But investigators were quick to caution polygraphs aren't foolproof. They measure stress, not truth. And Daniel's behavior despite his cooperation raised questions. Scratches were noticed on his face shortly after the children went missing. Then, without explanation, he shaved his beard, changing his appearance. He withdrew from interviews. His tone during public appeals was flat, monotone, even robotic. Not once did he break down. Not once did he publicly cry. Was it shock or something colder? Some behavioral analysts noted possible markers of narcissistic control, emotional detachment, subtle deflection, and an obsessive need to manage perception. Others suggested something more human. A man coping poorly under unbearable pressure. He also volunteered for a drug test interpreted by some as full transparency, and by others as carefully curated performance. When compared to known offender profiles in similar cases, particularly in rural child disappearances tied to domestic dysfunction, certain patterns do emerge: abrupt grooming changes, public detachment, over-cooperative yet emotionally flat, but without a confession or physical evidence. It remains speculation, a psychological puzzle in a case already built on half-truths, silence, and sorrow. And the one person who could offer clarity still insists, "I didn't hurt them." With no bodies, no charges, and no confessions, all that remains are questions and theories. Some believe it was a tragic accident, that Lilly and Jack wandered off through a barely audible sliding door, that they got lost in the dense forest, their voices swallowed by the wilderness. But if that's true, why didn't the alarm go off? Others suspect something darker, that someone inside the house opened the door, that the children never wandered off, they were let out, that what followed was not a disappearance, but a carefully orchestrated cover-up. Then there's the step-grandfather's theory, that abuse was happening daily, that he saw bruises, heard cries, and finally, after silence turned unbearable, he broke it. Daniel beat them, yet so much remains unresolved. Why was the 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock a.m. timeline so vague? Why were the children's last known whereabouts unclear until public pressure forced police to disclose surveillance footage from May 1st? What exactly happened when Malaysia called 911, and in the chaotic days that followed? Why no dash cam footage from nearby roads? And what about the borders? Daniel himself asked police to monitor exits through New Brunswick and regional airports. Was it transparency or a red herring? These are the gaps that keep this case open. And somewhere between the trees and the truth, Lilly and Jack are still waiting to be found. This case, like so many before it, isn't happening in a vacuum. We've seen echoes of this tragedy before. Harmony Montgomery, Gabriel Fernandez. Children failed not only by the adults around them but by the systems designed to protect them. In both cases, warning signs were present, abuse documented, CPS involved but too late, and in the beginning, the public believed the parents, until sympathy turned into outrage. On Gairloch Road, isolation becomes more than just a landscape. It's a barrier, a place where cries for help may never be heard, where a family can fracture in silence, and no one notices until it's too late. This case forces us to examine more than individuals. It reveals cracks in the system, the way grieving mothers are pathologized, the way online spaces become courtrooms, the way mental health, especially in rural communities, goes unaddressed. If we want to prevent the next Lilly and Jack, it's not just about finding the guilty, it's about building networks of support strong enough to catch the innocent before they fall. Because when the silence gets this loud, it's not just one family that suffers. So we return to the question that's haunted this case from the start. Is Daniel Martell a heartbroken partner blindsided by tragedy? Or is he hiding something behind calm eyes and a story practiced too many times? The step-grandfather said it without hesitation. Daniel beat them. Was that grief talking guilt? Or was it the first real crack in a carefully held lie? And in the middle of this storm, we must not forget Lilly and Jack, two children who loved pink sweaters and dinosaur boots, who chased each other through kitchen tiles, who vanished while the world slept in. Their story now floats in the silence of a house surrounded by trees. The truth may lie in the gaps and missing minutes, unspoken memories, deleted texts, and the cost of waiting, of not acting, is measured in lives too young to defend themselves. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from the courts. It comes from voices brave enough to speak, from pressure that refuses to relent, and from people like you who refuse to let this story fade. Justice for Lilly and Jack. Let their names be more than a mystery. Let them be a movement.